In these uncertain
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com. Welcome to Opinion Nation.
And we stand today on the edge of a new frontier.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
What makes us Americans is our shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal.
I, too, am America.
Now here's your host, Bryce Robbins.
Okay, and what a beautiful Saturday morning it is, 11:05 Eastern Standard Time. And today, of course, as many of you may know, whether you've been following me on social media or not, it is our interview with Lloyd Kelso, presidential candidate. And I must give a promo that I will talk about for next week, but you know what? I'll do it later. Next week, you're also not going to want to miss our interview that we've got ready to go. It is with a man who is, well, we'll say he's colorful. And I'll get to it later. But before we start our interview, and before we do anything, let's just knock out some quick topics. So, Cecil the Lion, kind of a interesting story. I mean, this man's life is being ruined over a lion. Yes, I agree that it is sad, and I agree that it is wrong, but to the point where his life is being ruined the way it is. I mean, why don't people get so up in arms when this happens regularly? I mean, poaching has been estimated, the big hunting industry, has been estimated to be a $200 million industry in Africa. So he's not the first person who did it. The last kind of person who did something very similar was also in Africa, where a guy from Texas paid $350,000 to hunt a rhino that turned out to be an endangered black rhino. Now, in this case, the dentist man, whatever his name is, didn't even realize or claim to not have realized that this was Cecil the Lion. Then again, why the hell are you hunting a freaking lion? What should have happened is he should have shot it with a camera and not had to have killed it. I don't understand the whole point on why these hunters have to kill lions. I think Jimmy Kimmel put it best. They probably can't get erections. So they need the thrill to kill a lion. There is no need to kill a beautiful cat in the wild that is going endangered just so you can mount it on your wall and look at it and say, ha, I got that bitch. It seems so unnecessary. So that's that. My next topic, that I'll quickly breeze through, is how Hillary Clinton took a jab at Jeb Bush. So Jeb Bush has been coming out as saying, climate change is caused by people. Wow, Jeb. Jeb, I give you an applaud for that. He said that it could be caused by man. But he also went again to say that we should take away tax credits for all energy companies. And that's where he lost me, because then he's evidently no longer helping clean energy along. And then he lost me when he was talking about Medicare, getting rid of it. Yes, Jeb Bush wants the phasing out of Medicare, which is a program that has helped, or is currently helping, millions and millions of people, which I advocate for an expansion of, as does Bernie Sanders. But I'll let Hillary Clinton take a knock at Jeb Bush, and just so you guys can hear what she said at the National Urban League Conference. Mind you, they were both there. So let's take a listen.
News like this, and what they actually do when they're elected. I don't think you can credibly say that everyone has a right to rise and then say you're for phasing out Medicare or for repealing Obamacare. People can't rise if they can't afford health care. They can't rise if the minimum wage is too low to live on. They can't rise if their governor makes it harder for them to get a college education. And you cannot seriously talk about the right to rise and support laws that deny the right to vote.
Okay, so yes, that sounded beautiful, and you would think that I would like to hear that, but unfortunately, she's just a crock of shit. That is a bunch of bullshit, and the lady got a $600 haircut. What the hell does she know? I mean, in all reality, Hillary Clinton is the biggest two-face around. Okay, she makes millions of dollars a year. She's worth $22 million. Her and her husband make hundreds of thousands of dollars for bringing in, speeches and whatever. And then what? And then she's going to pretend like she's Miss Middle Class when she's actually not. And it's sad because people are going to believe that, and they're going to ride on her vision of a, socialist, almost socialist society, but she's not. She's just as in bed with the Wall Street fat cats as anybody else. She's not the legitimate candidate who I want to see win. Again, she got a $600 haircut. Most Americans don't make $600 in a week, and this lady feels she's so entitled that she can tell everybody, oh, hey, we all should rise up with education and this and that and whatever, but it's a crock of crap. She just wants to be president. Almost probably as bad as John McCain wanted to be president. But forget it. Anyways, I am now joined with presidential candidate Lloyd Kelso. Lloyd Kelso is from North Carolina. He's a presidential hopeful, and he's got more likes on Facebook than Lincoln Chafee. So, Mr. Kelso, how are you doing today?
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. It is good to hear you on the station. We've been planning this for a while, and I think our listeners are, really happy to hear from you. So, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you came from, and why are you running for president?
Well, I'm from Gastonia, North Carolina. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for now 39 years. I was born and raised here in Gastonia, North Carolina. Attended public schools here. Attended Erskine College, a little Christian liberal arts college down in Due West, South Carolina for 4 years. Got a bachelor's degree in history, and went to the University of South Carolina Law School, where I got a JD degree in 1975. I went back to school in my early 50s and obtained a master's degree in divinity and a master's degree in Christian counseling. Sort of bring all of that to the table, what I consider a proper moral compass, and all of my background in helping the poor and middle class citizens, representing them in family law matters over the years, also many contingent fee cases. I've helped really thousands of people over my career, fighting for them and fighting for the workers of America. And that's what I intend to do as president.
See, here's the thing I don't get. Hillary Clinton can get a $600 haircut, and you seem to be the American man. Someone who, when you were talking to me earlier, you seemed like you describe yourself as rising through the ranks, truly living the American dream, that someone could, in their life, run for president. And I want to know, do you think that you are going to get there?
Well, that's a good question, Bryce, and a lot of that depends on people like you and the listeners out there as to whether you help and support me in this candidacy. I certainly can't do it all alone. I'm going to have help from we the people. I've asked everybody who has liked my Facebook page, now some 11,000 people, to send me $5, which I don't think is an enormous amount of money, but that $5, if everyone would do that, we would have enough money to go out and buy campaign signs to put all over the state of Iowa that we need to be doing right now. I wouldn't be having to worry about the money it's going to take to fly me to Iowa this week. The money is a really big deal. I'm not a rich man. I have put money into this campaign, my own personal money. I have rose from being impoverished as a child. I know what it's like to live in poverty. I know what it's like not to have food and have to go to grandma's house and eat crackers for meals. I understand the plight of the working people. I deal with working people. I had a lady that was in to see me just this past week that worked for Target stores here in North Carolina, and just the ridiculousness of $146 a month being taken out of her check just for federal taxes, and she's working at the minimum wage and trying to support a child on that, a single parent. Why should she be having to give $146 of her hard-earned money to the federal government? And she's just barely getting by, and really not enough money to get by. So, I understand those struggles of everyday Americans. I have been there. I've watched it through the years. My wife cuts my hair, so I'm very careful with the money. I try to be. My plan involves us paying off the federal debt, $18.3 trillion now. Bryce, one of the things that scares the devil out of me is we don't address this debt issue, and no candidate out there except myself is really making this a focal point of their campaign. If we don't address this debt issue, I was just figuring the other day, how much is that? If we paid $1 million a day, it would take us 50,000 years to pay off $18.3 trillion. So we've got to address that debt, and we've got to bring down the deficit. We've got to get the deficit to where it's balanced, and we've got to create a surplus to pay off this debt, which is hanging over our heads.
Okay,
I was going to say about half of our spending that we spend in the federal government goes to pay the interest on the debt. So it's a big issue.
Absolutely. And I kind of want to get a little more into this. I've always been one who's been against the Federal Reserve. I feel that they're the reason that we're in debt, and I feel that this whole giant government-free central banking system is the root of all evils, so to speak, when it comes to our economic system. Have you developed an opinion on what you would do with the Federal Reserve? I know that people like Ron Paul and even Bernie Sanders have called for the auditing of the Federal Reserve.
Well, I would do the same. I think that Rand Paul is correct on that. I'm not a big fan of Rand Paul, nor am I a big fan of Bernie Sanders, but I think that we do need to address the issue of Federal Reserve. I see the problem not just there. I think we have an integrative. I think I should be allowed to do an integrative approach to how do we deal with the economy, and I see the big elephant in the room that we've got to deal with is this free trade issue. And free trade has been free for everyone else except America, and it's one of those things we've lost. And since 1975, $10 trillion deficit in our trade deficit. We've got to address that. And, the NAFTA, the Chorus Agreement, the new trade agreement we've got with China becoming a part of the WTO, all of that has cost us millions of jobs and has done nothing but just increase the imports that we have and decrease the number of exports that we have. So I see that as really a big issue. Immigration is an issue. It's part of it. We've got to deal with immigration and enforce immigration laws. We've got to deal with the tax structure and take these enormous taxes that are on the poor and middle class off of the middle class. And we've got to deal with that quickly so that they can work themselves out of poverty and get themselves up to where they can be in a tax-paying class of people.
I mean, from what you just were talking about, and we're going to get into taxes later, because taxes, for everybody listening, Mr. Kelso here has been outspoken on how he's going to deal with the taxes. So I want to save that for more in depth in a couple minutes. But I want to get into something you just said, trade. So, I mean, Donald Trump boasts about it. I agree with it, and you seem to agree with what you just said. But we suck on trade. We suck on foreign policy. We suck on making deals, i.e., the Iran deal, and we suck at negotiating. So, I mean, would you be in favor of placing a tariff on imports? I mean, what would that do? Would you feel comfortable? Because that's what Donald Trump is advocating for. A 35% tariff on all goods imported from Mexico. Because it seems that we've just been shipping jobs away at the benefit of these giant corporations. So, I mean, how do you feel about placing tariffs and ending free trade?
I think the approach should be a little different from that. I would use tariffs if necessary, if that became the only way to make that happen. I think the better approach would be to let's go to each one of these countries. I want to visit each one of these countries where we're importing these goods, because what we're doing basically, as I understand it, is supporting slavery overseas. We've got women in El Salvador working for just a number of different companies that are what they're doing are making shirts for like $7 a day, working 50 to 60-hour weeks, and nothing to deal with the issues of no social responsibility, no ethical standards there, no environmental standards, not paying them enough. They're paying them only enough to barely eat. And is this the kind of country we want to have? Is that we want to be a trade partner with somebody that's promoting slavery? So my goal would be to raise awareness around the world of human trafficking and slave trade, and basically what's still going on around the world in these industrial areas. Because if people know about that, then why shouldn't we declare a breach in these trade agreements, because they're not meeting up to what the trade agreements initially said. If they want to meet up to what those trade agreements initially said, then they can start paying their people more, and that will automatically increase the cost of the goods for them, and would allow Americans to again compete. If none of that works, then of course quotas on foreign imports or tariffs would be the next step.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. I agree with you wholeheartedly that, and I always say it, and I think with negotiative deals like in Iran, our motto should simply be no rights, no aid, no trade. That's it. Same thing with the African countries, no rights, no aid, no trade. But when you break it down, quite simply, in China or in Mexico or wherever, you said El Salvador, if we start enforcing labor laws around the world, right, we become the global police of labor laws. And then suddenly we make all the countries abide by, giving their workers fair wages, or else we won't buy from them. Don't you see it as a problem that this might raise an issue? We won't have, we won't have the products that we have, and that their life might actually get worse, because then if they're no longer making the products, they won't even be making the $7 a day that they were making. So, I mean, although we see it as a shitty situation that they're in now, won't it just get crappier if we're no longer buying from them?
I think it's exactly the opposite of that. I think these are multinational corporations who are engaged in this slave trade, basically, in slave wages. We're talking companies like Nike and Columbia who are making goods over there. And if we stand up to them, they will pay these workers more money. They will do what they need to do, and they will raise prices to some degree. and that may not be such a bad thing. I certainly, when I go to Walmart and I pick up a T-shirt and I look at it and it's $3.83, I say, wow, isn't that nice? We can buy a T-shirt for $3.83. But then when I see, well, it was made in El Salvador, and I know it was someone who was working there for $7 a day, is that something I want to promote by buying that $3.83 T-shirt? I think, I would be happy to pay $6 or $7 for that T-shirt and see that lady in El Salvador start making $14, $15 a day and be able to feed her family and take care of herself. Just one move like that would, in my opinion, change the whole dynamic of free trade, in that now American workers would start to be able to compete with foreign labor. Makes no sense to import all these goods from around the world when you can make them right here for the same price. So that's what we've got to address. We've got to address how to get these multinational corporations to stop engaging in slavery.
Well, a lot of people tuning in right now, they might think that won't work, but let's give them a reason why it will. Because you're going to put more cash into the pockets of people who don't have a lot. People might say, okay, now you're going to start raising the prices on goods. But, so your tax plan, you seem that you're going to be giving a lot more money back to the people who need it. So,
exactly. And that, like I said, it's an integrative approach. You've got to do this on every level that I'm talking about to make it work.
So we're going to go to break. Do you think you can stay with us for a little longer?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
All right, great. So we are going to go to break, and then when we come back, we are going to hear a pretty impressive, well-thought-out tax plan that puts Rand Paul's chucking and throwing the tax papers into a shredder to shame. Lloyd Kelso, you can check him out on his website. Just Google up Lloyd Kelso for President 2016. You'll find his website. Like him on Facebook. But when we come back, we're going to hear about his tax plan. So, Rick, if you could take us into break right now.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of liberty-conservative conservatism.
Where no one is safe and no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey?
Today.
Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Has to do with
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com. Tune in to America Off the Rails with Rowdy Rick Robinson every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time on iHeartRadio, K98Talk.com, and Blog Talk Radio. Rick, a conservative who's not afraid to say what's on his mind, tackles the issues that threaten to derail our nation. So join him every Saturday morning at 7:30 to get your daily dose of the truth as he tries to keep America from coming off the rails. The staff of K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network is proud to announce that our very own Rowdy Rick Robinson has been selected as one of the top conservative talk show hosts in the nation for his program America Off the Rails. Again, congratulations to Rowdy Rick Robinson for a job well done and another reason to stay connected to K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network.
Okay, and welcome back. I am joined, if you're just tuning in now, by presidential hopeful Lloyd Kelso. He's running from the Democratic Party. We were just going over some of his trade policies and foreign policy, but now, as I promised, we're going to get into the in-depth of his run. His bid is all based off pretty much giving money back to the people and back to them through a better tax code. I think we can all agree that the tax code really sucks. So, Mr. Kelso, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're going to fix the tax system?
Yeah, we've got a huge problem in America, and policy-wise, as I see it, we are working people who are almost at the poverty level and taking their money, and people who are making less than $50,000 a year, we're taking their money. And those folks, we need to be giving them a break so they can work themselves out of that area and work back into being in good paying jobs and having money to spend. So everyone who is at the poverty level, which I would say should be around $15,000 a year. I know the Congressional Budget Office defines it differently, but at around 10.5. But I would say at around $15,000 a year, we need to have no federal tax at all for people making less than $15,000. And then I would start with integrating the taxes up from $15,000 to $30,000. I would have incrementally increasing so that at $30,000 you're paying at about a 5% rate, and then incrementally coming up to $50,000, which I would have folks coming up to around a 15% rate at $50,000. So there'd be a kind of an incremental growth, a graduated growth within in between. So at $15,000 and on up, I think it would create a huge incentive for people to work harder if they knew that only 15% of their wages would be taken. Now, of course, some people are saying, well, that's a big tax break for the rich. I say not necessarily because I have another part of my tax plan which deals with taking the cap off of Social Security. And if you take the $118,500 cap off of Social Security and level that tax out and make a flat tax on that at about 5%, we might have to adjust it, 5.5 or 4.5, somewhere in that range to get it to where we have the figures that we really want to have on that. But I think that having a flat tax on all people on Social Security, not on Social Security, but to help the Social Security Fund, all workers who are working would pay say between 4.5 and 5.5 in tax as a flat tax as adjusted. And that would certainly increase a lot of Social Security income revenue from wealthy taxpayers. Some people argue that's unfair. I think it's very fair. We have a lot of these athletes that are making millions of dollars a year, but then they become a burden on Social Security after a few years. And I've paid in, as a lawyer, a lot more Social Security tax over the years than some of these millionaires have paid in. So I see it as a fair way of doing it. We charge a percentage. It's 5% for a rich guy is the same as 5% for a poor guy. So we changed that. We also want to repeal any federal estate taxes. And I'm sorry for that background noise that's coming through my window. Somebody decided to crank up a lawnmower outside. But the federal estate tax, I don't think it's fair that people should have to sell their businesses or family farms. I would get rid of the federal estate tax. And I would close what I would say is probably one of the largest tax loopholes that exist out there today. I would tax as ordinary income and losses, the gains and losses on investments on an annual basis. That would mean if you buy stock in a corporation, you would not be able to hold that stock for 20 years and watch it go up unless you've got it in a qualified plan, such as a 401k or IRA. that stock, as it increased in value, would be taxed annually at the 15% rate if your income is at that level. So we would close a huge tax loophole there, and that would increase the revenue substantially to the point that we would not, we'd be able to afford the other tax cuts that I've talked about. I would also repeal the capital gains tax. I would treat capital asset sales the same as I would ordinary income sales. And I would say that we can have ordinary and necessary business expense deductions, but not on corporate jets and yachts and stuff like that we see some of these people using as tax write-offs today. We've got a huge problem with millionaires, people making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year who are actually paying zero tax because they have tax accountants and tax lawyers that help them to avoid taxes, creating all kinds of deductions and loopholes. I would end that. I would stop that today. Everyone would be able to fill out a tax form, and it would be a one sheet. You put down how much you've made, you put down how much was paid in by your deductions from your employer based on the flat tax, and you would know exactly what amount is due or how much you're going to get back based on whether you've overpaid or underpaid. And that would be it. I would get rid of the joint tax returns and all these deductions that you get, exemptions for children that people fight over all the time. And every single individual who is working age would file a tax return unless you were living below the poverty level.
You seem to have thought this out very well. Now, go a little more in depth on your capital gains in regard to that. That is interesting because that is almost Bernie Sanders type, and it seems that the way that a lot of this is working, it seems to be very for the people.
It is very for the people. It's not very Bernie Sanders in part of it here because he wants to tax the wealthy at 70% rate. And I'm not going there. I would not do that to people. I think it would kill incentive. I think it would cause a number of people who are certainly my age to retire. I would get rid of some of these ineligibility requirements with Social Security. I'd let older people be able to work and continue to pay into the system without being penalized. We need to deal with some of those issues to keep people in the workplace if possible, because it's going to take all of us pulling together, unified, working together to pay off this $18.3 trillion debt. And we have to keep thinking about that. I would get rid of the capital gains tax. I think it's just a way for people to avoid paying tax on what they call capital assets, when really it's an income just like any other income. I would redefine ordinary income as being incomes from gains on investments and losses on investments the same. You have gains and losses, you deduct them every year.
You know what? I mean, it just makes sense, and I feel that people in elected office are so whipped by their backers and their donators and their other colleagues that they don't have the balls, so to speak, to say what you're saying. But I think anybody listening right now can hear that your tax plan makes sense, and it makes sense much more than someone like Rand Paul, who's boasting about how he's going to fix the tax system. Yours makes sense. And I want everybody who has not, maybe might be tuning in now, rewind and go listen to Mr. Kelso's plan for the tax system, because it makes sense. So I definitely applaud you in that area. Let's just do a quick hear your opinion on some certain issues. I'll just name the issue. You tell me your opinion in maybe less than 3 sentences, just so we can get people to get a broad understanding of you. So
that'd be great. You name it, I'll give it to you in 5 seconds.
Got it. So climate change.
Climate change. We're having climate change. We've got to deal with it in some ways. We're controlled by nature, and nature is going to do its thing, whether we like it or not. I think a lot of it deals on how we deal with pollution around the world, not just in America. We've got to put environmental standards into our trade agreements.
Hey, I love that idea. Abortion, because that seems to be a huge issue because the Planned Parenthood videos are surfacing. What's your opinion on that?
I'm pro-life, being a Christian. I am not in favor of going out and changing all of the abortion, making abortion laws and making abortion a murder in America. I would not favor that. I lived through that era before 1973 when abortion was considered a homicide. I think that was a terrible time to be here with all of the women that were having to go to Puerto Rico and Costa Rica, having to go around the world and back shop butcher places to get abortions. However, my programs would promote adoption and would promote having women understand what abortion is, and hopefully we would see a drop. We've already seen a drop in the abortion rate. I think we would see a significant drop in my administration.
Okay, genetically modified organisms. That's something that I'm pretty big on, so I just kind of playing around with that one, but I want to hear, what do you think about big agriculture subsidies, GMO production, something of that nature?
Well, if you're talking about GMOs, I don't favor that. I think we've got to go back to being as organic as we can be. We need to, I know I've had to be on an organic diet for the last couple of years, and that has really helped my health overall. I think we need to move more toward organics in our food supply and eliminate GMOs.
What about gun control?
I'm a Second Amendment advocate. I don't personally own guns, but I really, support the rights of those who want to own guns. My father had a shotgun when I was growing up. I understand the rights of gun owners, the right to bear arms. I think we need to have a much better mental health assessment in terms of how we handle gun owners. The situation with this situation in Tennessee recently, and some of these just lead to the belief that when we hear about people who have real mental health problems, that there needs to be better reporting of that. How some of these people, like the kid in South Carolina that had mental health issues that killed the people in Charleston. There's got to be some sort of reporting of people that have these types of problems to be able to keep guns out of their hands. But I support gun rights. I'm a Second Amendment advocate, and I would do nothing to take away the rights of people who want to own guns.
Okay, what about healthcare? Universal healthcare, privatized healthcare? What do you think about healthcare?
I'm not a big fan of Obamacare. I think it's been the biggest boom for the insurance industry in the past 3 or 4 decades. I would try to. I'd try to phase out Obamacare. The unintended consequences of Obamacare has been the big problem. I could do a whole show on that at some point. But the way I would want to do that is I would want to expand Medicare. We already have Medicare. Medicaid, I'd want to expand Medicaid to include people with pre-existing conditions and those with life-threatening illnesses, and make sure that people do receive health care that they need. I don't think that we should be a nation where people can't get free health care that are in real need of it. But I don't favor keeping Obamacare as we presently have it. I think it is causing a real problem with employment in America, and it is reducing numbers of people's hours. You can't go to the same doctor that you had before. You've lost, a lot of people have lost insurance policy. I know my insurance policy went up about 30% in premium. If I wasn't a lawyer, I couldn't afford it. There's
would you
just
expand it to everybody? Would you be in favor of universal health care?
I don't know that I think I'm probably close to that, but probably I don't know how we can afford universal health care. Right now, Obamacare subsidies are going to cost America $98 billion a year is the projection, and I don't know how we're going to afford that either. We've set up a number of social programs under the Obama administration that we simply going forward cannot afford to do on a long-term basis. And so we've got to deal with the $18.3 trillion debt. Or we've got to decide we want to become a communist society and basically go ahead and vote for Bernie Sanders.
So I've gotten a lot of requests to ask this one, I guess, from some of our younger listeners. What is your stance on the legalization of marijuana? Yeah,
that's a really good question, and I've had a lot of people ask that. I'm certainly in favor of legalizing medical marijuana as long as it's for an illness that's diagnosable by a physician and is treatable with marijuana. I don't see a problem with that. The problem that I see with the legalization of marijuana nationwide is I really don't think that it's a federal issue. I would like to get rid of some of the federal crimes related to marijuana. And just simply make it a state issue and let people decide state by state. We've already got 4 states that legalize marijuana, and if that's fine. So if they want to do that, I think the big problem is how do you determine the level of THC in the marijuana cigarette? If they can find a way of getting that to a point where you know exactly what you're buying, what the consumer is buying. One cigarette might make somebody so high they can't drive an automobile, whereas somebody else could probably smoke 3 or 4 before they got that high. So there's no uniform standard there.
I mean, I must say, for everybody listening, Mr. Kelso here is a man who clearly has thought himself out. I gotta say, I agree with you on. You're probably one of the first people who I've agreed with on most issues who I brought on the show. I'm so glad that you've taken the time out of your day to come and talk with us. Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I just hope everybody will go to the website, www.lloydkelsoforpresident.com. If you like what I've had to say today, you think you would support me over Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and the rest, give me a donation. I'm basically asking everybody to give $5 to help support my campaign. I've got over 11,166 Facebook likes as of this morning. The campaign's growing pretty rapidly. I will be in Iowa from August 12th through the 15th. I'll be at the Iowa State Fair, and we have a big event that night at the library in Des Moines. If you go on my site, you'll see that. And so I appreciate you having me on the show, Bryce, and I look forward to coming back.
Well, you will definitely be back. I mean, it just seems that in this time, we have so many people. It seems politics is so divisive right now. So many people are so divided. But you seem to come at the issues from not a left position or a right position, but rather what makes sense to you. So I admire that, and I hope to see you on that debate stage soon. And I can't wait to hear what you have to say. I mean, everybody, that's Lloyd Kelso. Please look him up, Lloyd Kelso for President. His slogan's pretty, just what I just said, common sense solutions for our nation's problems. So once again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, and you will definitely be back on our show. So thank you so much, Mr. Kelso. Have a wonderful day. All right. So next topic that I talked about, and before I actually get to that, I must say that was an awesome interview. So Lloyd, if you're still listening, thank you so much for coming on our show. That was presidential candidate Lloyd Kelso. So our next topic on the day is transgender bathrooms. So, I mean, here's the thing that I always feel is that it seems that transgender bathrooms, I mean, I told the story last time. I was called transphobic because I believe that there shouldn't be an extra bathroom built for transgenders. You know, in the White House, they built a transgender bathroom. In colleges all over America, they're building transgender bathrooms, and as well as in high schools. So today, I bring on the show a returning guest who's been on the show prior, Sarah. So hello, Sarah. How are you doing today?
Hi, Bryce. I'm good. And I actually listened to the Kelso interview. He was pretty good. I liked him.
Yeah, definitely. So, so Sarah, if you could tell me, you know, I view transgender bathrooms, I view them as being transphobic. You're telling people, here's another bathroom for you. You know, you might call me a bigot for this, and people might think that I am for saying this, but If the parts don't match the plumbing, there's something wrong. Go use the bathroom where you identify with, or what you identify with, or whatever parts you have. I mean, I'm trying to say as flat out as I can, but let's hear the other side.
Okay, well, as first of all, you said that you could either go to the bathroom with the parts that you were born with, or go to the bathroom that corresponds with the gender that you feel that you are. Oh, Lord, sorry, I'm outside. There was a bird. Anyway, so the first problem with that is that, especially in the new, younger, liberal generation, some people are challenging the gender binary. Some trans people are saying, you know what, this gender thing doesn't work for me, and I don't think I really fit into either one of these categories. And I know what you're saying, like, how is that possible? There's boy and there's girl, and maybe you could change between them, but you have to choose one. And the thing with that is that gender is a social construct. It was something created by humans. You know, girls don't come right out of the womb wearing a dress with pink bows, and boys don't come out with a skateboard and a Nerf gun. It's something that we as people created. And because it was completely man-made and something just totally artificial, some people, it's not too hard to see and understand how some people are saying, you know, this doesn't work for me. Other people made it and it's not tailored for me. So by saying that someone has to choose either boy or girl, it's really offensive to these people who feel that they are neither, and these people call themselves non-binary folk. So,
all right, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
The percentage of homosexuals or people of the LGBTQ community is what I should have said. The LGBTQ community makes up 3% of the population in the United States. Should we be building a separate bathroom so that perhaps 1% of the population feels comfortable?
Well, first of all, sorry, I'll move where there's less noise. There's a very big problem with people in the LGBT community, especially trans people, being harassed or bullied in bathrooms. There was a recent statistic that I saw that said about 70% of trans people were in some way harassed when they tried to go to the bathroom, and that 10% were physically harassed, and that there was even like a significant number, maybe like 68%, or 68% who said that they weren't even allowed access to the bathroom, where no matter where they went, these trans people said, whether they went to boy or girl bathrooms, that they were harassed physically and verbally and denied access. So we especially need this transgender bathroom because there are so many people who, it doesn't matter where they go, they're harassed either way. And you say it's a small percentage of the population, but these people are put in danger every single time they do something simple. And furthermore, you know, it could just be an extra unisex bathroom. It doesn't have to be specific to trans people. So if they build this bathroom and in say a high school, and you know, the high school only has 2 trans kids, well, the cisgender or not transgender kids could also use this bathroom and put it to use, but it's really important that those 2 trans kids have a place where they're not getting beat up every time they try and do something simple like going to the bathroom.
Okay, here's the thing though. If these kids are getting beaten up and there's a problem like that, that's not the issue. That's a separate issue. That's they're getting bullied, and I agree there should be some type of action that is taking care of it. But I mean, everyone should be able to use the bathroom without getting beat up. That's not a question. But, I mean, it just seems silly to assign an extra bathroom for people, for such a small percentage of the population who feel they don't identify with a certain gender, or they are the opposite gender or whatever. I mean, in all honesty, we are born a boy or a girl. 50% of the population's got a penis, and 50% of the population has a vagina, and that's just what it is. So for the 2 minutes that we're in the bathroom, I mean, it just seems ridiculous that we are going to start building transgender bathrooms because we think it's socially correct. But in all honesty, it seems like we're isolating these people. They should be using the regular bathroom, proud to use whatever bathroom they're using, and that's it. It should be the end of the day. I mean, nobody should be getting bullied in the bathroom. That I agree with you on that, but nobody should be getting bullied, period. Whether it's because they're gay, straight, or I don't even know what. But I don't know. I don't see it that a transgender bathroom is the solution to either A, stopping this bullying, or B, solve the problem in general. I mean, we want inclusion and we want society to accept these people. So by building an extra bathroom, isn't that kind of like building a bathroom for black people and saying you have to use that one?
Well, first of all, yes, I actually have thought of that, and I've heard that before, that it is kind of like segregation. But first of all, we wouldn't require trans kids to use it, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be labeled as a trans bathroom. It could be a bathroom that even cis kids use, or again, non-transgender kids use, that's just unisex. So anybody, any gender, cisgender, transgender, non-binary, whatever, anybody can use it. And second of all, the entire world is kind of like a cisgender safe place. Like, I, as a cisgender person, have never, not once ever, faced hate or discrimination or felt like I was going to be in danger because of my gender, because I'm a girl and I identify as a girl and I dress and I look like a girl. But transgender people have next to no safe places. Maybe their school has a gay-straight alliance or something, but, a lot of times, they're rejected at school, at church, at home. Their parents might reject them and say, we don't accept you for who you are. So they just need... They have so few places in which they can feel safe that I think this tiny act can help them feel safer overall. It's just some place in an area that they are a lot, school, for example, in which they can say, no one's going to harass me here. And I think to these trans kids, that's priceless. You say, oh, it might be superfluous, it might be a little pricey. Well, you know what? Worst comes to worst, only cisgender kids use it. Maybe a trans person doesn't ever get to it, but, no one's saying that cis people can't use it. But it's such a really horrific issue. And, we're two cisgender people who are talking about it and dishing out our thoughts, but, and saying, I think that it's better to do this or that, but I think it's up to the trans community. And when you do ask the trans community, there was a study done, I think in some sort of college in like California, can't really remember which one. They asked like 500 trans people, would you like a separate bathroom? And 100% of them said yes, we would like a separate bathroom. We feel unsafe. And it's such, and you say, yes, it's only 2 minutes of the day, but it's something that's simple for us because we don't have problems with our gender. But every single time they go to the bathroom in a public space, it is a constant reminder of the discrimination they face. Maybe they're forced into the bathroom of the gender they don't identify with, and that's absolutely traumatizing for them. And every single thing in their life is a constant reminder of how the world sees them.
What do you think about binary, just getting rid of the binary bathroom division, just co-gender bathrooms?
Co-gender bathrooms.
Kind of like in colleges, just a co-gender bathroom.
Well, unisex bathroom, yeah. I mean, in theory, I have nothing wrong with it. Obviously, I don't have too much against going to the bathroom with a guy next to me and vice versa. But in practice, I feel like it could lead to a lot of harassment. I feel like when trans people go to the bathroom, they face maybe being assaulted, or they face people like looking in on them because people are weird and stuff like that. And I think that would just bring those same problems onto the cis population. And especially as a woman, I would feel kind of in danger if I had to go to the bathroom with, going to the bathroom with a trans female, which was someone designated male at birth and went over to female, that's different. I think of those as true women. I don't mind going to the bathroom with them, but having me go to the bathroom with other cisgendered men, I'd feel, are they going to hurt me? Are they going to like try and put a camera in there or something creepy like that? And I feel like it could just facilitate violence to a lot of people on a lot of levels, especially because you can't put security cameras in bathrooms.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Hello, everybody. Today I am here.
So thank you so much for coming on today, and you'll definitely be back. Can't say I agree with you on everything, but I can say that it was a good conversation. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for having me on.
Okay, so our show today was, I would say, very successful, and we got to hear from a presidential candidate, and we got to talk about transgender bathrooms. For everyone who may be catching the show late, of course, you can always catch it on replay. We're on Spreaker, Stitcher, Player FM, TuneIn Radio, and for the first time, I should have said it at the beginning, this broadcast is also going out to SHR Media. We've been picked up by the conservative group because they needed a liberal. No, I'm kidding. They wanted to expand their audience because, like I've always said, my goal is not to change everyone's opinion, but just to give another opinion so that maybe you think one more time. So I'm going to give you a little promo into next week's episode because it's been pre-recorded. So that maybe you will be enticed to listen. Next week's episode, I interview the controversial Dr. James David Manning of the church in Harlem, the Atla World Church in Harlem. You might have seen him on YouTube. He's had over 2 million views. He's been on the Young Turks. He's been on CBS News. He's been on TV. He has his own radio show. And he's an interesting pastor. But I'll let you have a listen.
Pastor, I can't say I agree with you on a heck of a lot of things. In fact, I probably disagree with you on most of them. But it's been very nice that you've taken the time out of your day to come join me. And thank you very much for coming on. Any last thoughts?
No, you take care, sir.
All right, you as well. Have a good one.
Watch out for the sodomites.
Yep, you heard that right. He said, watch out for the sodomites. So, I felt that would be an interesting zinger to get you back next week. So, next week, Pastor James David Manning joins me in my interview with him to talk about a whole host of things, that being sodomites or gentrifiers or crazy... he is nuts, but give it a listen. All right, that's all we got for this week. Please join us next week, same time, same place. And don't forget to chat us up on Facebook. I mean, we've gotten a lot of likes since last week. So chat us up on Facebook at Opinion Nation News. Tweet us on Twitter. Is it tweet us? Give us a tweet on Twitter at OPNAT News. And don't forget, everybody, opinions you're entitled to. Facts you are not. All right, have a great week, everybody. And don't forget to join us next week. That's all she wrote.
What makes us Americans is our shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal.
I, too, am America.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.